Hello. Okay. Candy box is empty. All right. I mean, it's not empty. It's just out. Okay. According to the calendar, we're supposed to be covering learning and development, and we're only covering learning because I put development on another packet, and I really doubt you wanted 2 packets on Monday. So we're covering development whenever we're covering sensation and perception, which is Thursday, which is also biological basic behavior. We're just going to do 2 packets on Thursday then. So good times, good times. I planned really, really well. Go me. So, due to popular request, we're going to be doing 1 page of multiple choice, an FRQ, and then the other page of multiple choice. So hopefully everyone has a packet from the front. Do you want to just do the whole front page, or do you just want to do like all the ones on the left and then talk about it, and then all the ones on the right and then talk about it? What do you think?
The second option.
Like break it up?
Yeah.
Okay. So. Okay. Okay. So let's do the first 4 on the left hand side. So the left column from a monkey all the way down to a researcher, and then we'll go over those 4 questions. How much more time do we need on the left hand side of the page?
Just 1 question.
I know what it should be.
I know what
not the answer.
The last one?
The second one.
Okay.
Based on like the key words in the problem, I know what it should be, but I'm not picking that.
Okay.
It's all confusing.
Well, I have like the answer clearly highlighted. So, hindsight bias is telling me like, well, obviously.
I have a question. You know how I always ask you like to take the same thing?
Yeah.
Or like so that one person that I asked you, it was bias and not.
Yeah. Don't get too stuck on little words like that, yes. Because they do that. Okay. All right, let's look at the first one on the left-hand side, the monkey. All right, the monkey is choosing a circle from an array of geometric shapes. So there's like triangles and squares and, hexagons. And they are choosing a circle. They're trying to figure out. And so they're being rewarded with a banana once they choose a circle. Okay, do we have an answer on the first one? What answer do you think? It is B. They're discriminating like that. It's hello. It's like this, not that. Oh, that is a very thick pen. Let's change that. All right. So, stimulus habituation on A is saying that like habituation when you see that because it's used a lot, not a lot, but it's used in several different units of this course. Usually, it means like you don't notice. Like it all blends in. It's like one question that I keep thinking about is like, oh, so and so has a grandfather clock in their house, and they sleep through it just fine, but the friend who's sleeping over can't sleep through it. Like keeps waking them up. How is the first person that lives there sleeping through it? And the answer was like habituation because they get so used to it they don't even see it anymore. And so like not being able to see the circle because they're all kind of blending in together is kind of what A is talking about. Does anyone know what C is? Transference.
Didn't we just do that last time
Yes.
with therapy?
Yes, it's with like Freud.
Rejection.
And like when you transfer your feelings onto someone else through therapy, like if you're angry at your mother and your therapist is talking about their mom a lot, like your mom a lot, you might get angry at the therapist when you're really angry at your mom. So like that's not even relevant to the question. Y'all remember what latent learning is?
Like insight learning opposite.
No, it's not insight learning. Insight learning is we talked about it today. Latent learning is you don't know that you know it until there's a chance to like illustrate learning. So like
I was saying it's opposite of insight.
it's not the opposite of insight.
You're wrong always.
It's not the opposite of insight. Don't get that in your head. That's wrong. Okay, so insight learning is like, I just figured it out. But like latent learning is like I didn't know that I knew it until I had a chance to like show that I knew it. So I don't know what a circle is until I look at it and be like, oh, that's a circle. But it's not that one. So like how do I like you have to show your learning to represent the fact that you actually learned it. Okay. Whenever Sarah's mother answered her phone, Sarah yelled for her mother's attention, and her mother would end the phone conversation. When Sarah's mother began ignoring Sarah's yelling, eventually Sarah stopped behaving this way. The change in Sarah's behavior is an example of class. What's the answer? Extinction. The behavior went away. The behavior, which in this case, what is the behavior that went away?
Yelling.
No.
The response.
What is a response to her yelling?
The attention.
The calling, the ending the phone call.
Like, yeah, ending the phone call to get attention. So, like, the behavior of ending the phone call.
But both things that.
But it says the change in Sarah's behavior. So like, why would the extinction be? Why would extinction
Sarah's behavior changed.
Because I'm not reinforcing or punishing. I guess it would be an example of classical conditioning. Maybe not reinforcement or punishing. No. The Sarah's mom is punishing her by ignoring her. She's like, and the behavior. I was trying to make a connection. It's extinction, and now I'm pedaling back of like, what's that? The behavior though that's extincting is Sarah's behavior. You're right, because she stopped being rewarded with attention. Every time that her mom hung up the phone and gave her attention to her, she's rewarding her. But she stopped doing that. She stopped rewarding the yelling, and therefore the yelling is going to go away. We talked about each of these today in class, except for one of them. But discrimination. What would an example of discrimination be? Say again. Okay, so like I won't. I'm trying to tie this back to Sarah and Sarah's mom. The scenario kind of is confusing, but like
When Sarah yells mom instead of dad. I don't know.
Yeah, she like doesn't respond to dad, but she responds to mom or something, and so like no behavior, which is the opposite of generalization. So, Lisa, this is what you're kind of asking. You're like, we learned this generalization, and here it says response generalization. Don't get tied up on that. Like, just look at keywords here. So, if the no behavior anymore for discrimination, yes behavior for generalization. What's systematic desensitization?
It's like you're just like slowly.
Yeah, it's like exposure therapy. This is not talking
That's
about
the
like,
opposite of flooding.
yeah. Someone knows her opposites. Spontaneous recovery, the return. So all of a sudden she is ignoring her yelling, and then she stops yelling, but all of a sudden maybe she yells again, and she doesn't ignore her anymore. She's like, okay, fine. What do you want? Okay. Number 5. This is the one that y'all didn't like. Okay. A dog retrieves the newspaper every day because in the past it received a food reward. A reward. A reward. Okay, what type of behavior is this? Okay, where do we see UCS, UCR? Like CD, where do we see that? Classical or operant conditioning? This is classical. These are two separate things. There is like UCS, UCR, CS, and CR, and that's classical conditioning. But if you're getting rewards or punishment, that's operant conditioning, which is why, and this is also this too, which is why A is the best answer here because it's the only one talking. Operant conditioning deals with reinforcements and punishments, and they're talking about this dog as being getting a food reward. That's reinforcement.
So what would make it a classic?
If it was involuntary. So classical conditioning is involuntary. So like the dog voluntarily gets the newspaper. It's not like all of a sudden the dog's like, oh God, I can't help myself. No, the dog can't help themselves to like salivate. The dog can't help himself to like start wagging his tail when you grab the leash. Like that is happening naturally. But reinforcements and operant conditioning happens voluntarily. So if a certain smell reminds you of Christmas, that's classical conditioning. It's not like, I smell this. Let me think of all the time. No, you just, oh, wow, that smells like Christmas. You don't even think about it. But then if you leave like your backpack on the ground, and like, oh, you didn't hang it up on like the hook by the door or something, and you know that you're going to get yelled at for leaving a mess everywhere, you voluntarily put the thing on the ground and you voluntarily put that on the hook. Like that is a choice that you are making. And so that's operant conditioning. You're making a choice. But classical, no choice. No choice. All right, last one. A researcher asked participants to identify red shapes presented on a video screen. Following this, novel objects of various colors are depicted on the screen. Participants correctly identify red shapes more quickly than objects of different color. This result illustrates what? Okay, do we have an answer here?
Priming.
It is priming. It is priming. Okay. Let's go all of these. Assimilation. This is okay, do you remember what unit we learned assimilation in? Not learning.
Behavior?
Yeah. Development, right? So like that's a cat. They're all cats. No, that's not a cat, that's a dog. And so like there's schema, assimilation, and accommodation. Do you remember this? Okay, so like don't exaggerate, Ms. Taylor. 50% of the AP exam, you can narrow, if you just know what words go with which unit, that will narrow down half of your answers. Like, oh, this is, I don't know, like this up here, clearly, oh, they've learned something. This doesn't really work with these answer choices. But like, this is like, oh, well, is this like a development question? Or identifying shapes and like, oh, you can do something quick. Like that's not really like development. And assimilation, we learned that in the development unit, so that doesn't really make sense. Dead. I'm dying. Okay. Assimilation is like the copy and paste. When you copy and paste a schema. A schema is like that fuzzy thing's a cat. I'm going to assimilate to all things that look maybe like remotely like a cat, 4 legs, furry, tail, cat, 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 cat. And then accommodation's like, no, cat, dog, cow, sheep. And so assimilation is like applying a schema. Ooh, hello. Applying a schema. Okay. I didn't mean to. There. What's modeling?
Bandera.
Bandura, social learning, learning by observation. Nowhere here does it says that like you're watching others do it. If it talked about watching others, then yeah, maybe that's modeling or learning by association or whatever. What's imprinting? It's animals do this. We do not. We do not imprint, but it's a strong bond that is made shortly after birth with mammals, not mammals, birds usually. But like it's some sort of like strong bond right after birth. Oh my God, stop. That's what really makes me mad. Like, you guys don't know this. Maybe you do. If you have younger siblings, y'all know that book that says like a little, it's like a little duck, and it's called "Are You My Mother?"
Oh yes.
Okay, that book should have been 1 page long. Ducks imprint. As soon as they're born, the very first thing it sees, it imprints on, and so it should have been like, "Are you my mother?" Oh, literally, I don't care. I'm imprinting on you either way. The story's over. Like, oh, then it keeps on going. No, that's not how it works. And so imprinting, we don't do that. Priming, okay, priming, we see this term a lot. It means like it sets you up in a certain way, like it sets you up to do something by like changing your like perception or your expectations. Okay, here's an example of priming. I saw this on TikTok. I really hope I remember how to do this. Hold on. Okay. Lily. Uh, spell yes.
YES.
Oh shoot! I think I missed that. No. Okay. Got it. Never mind.
Okay.
Reverse. Pretend that didn't happen. What does YES spell?
Yes.
Say it again. What does YES spell?
Yes.
What does YES spell?
Yes.
What does YES spell?
Yes.
What does EYES spell?
Eyes.
Okay. But like a lot of people, if you see them on the internet, they're like, ES? ES? No, because I primed you to like say it a certain way and to have, and they do this a lot. It's like, I forget what it's like.
Like you name white objects.
Yeah.
That's what cows do.
Yes. And they say like milk, and it's like, no, it's water. Yes, that's exactly what it is. I primed you to set you up in a certain way so that you respond in a certain way. I like made, look at all this red, look at all this red. It's like, show me the red. It's like you were set up to respond in a certain way. They did an experiment. I think I told you this. They did an experiment with like, kind of like subliminal messaging where they put people in a room, in a blank room, and they're like, "What's your favorite detergent?" And like the responses were all over the place. But then they added just a picture of like ocean scenes all around the room, and they asked different groups of people the same question: "What's your favorite detergent?" And like 90% of people said Tide, because it had a whole bunch of ocean scenes. And so like in your mind, you're thinking ocean, and you're like, "Oh, Tide." And then whatever. Okay, so I'm going to give you some time. There's 3 questions on this side. I'll give you about 3 minutes, and then we will go over, and then we will head to an FRQ practice. Yay, indeed.
How much time do we get per question on that?
Like
Less than-
barely.
Less than a minute.
Yes, less than a minute. Sorry, I was about to say more than a minute, but that's ego. It's 100 questions in 70 minutes. So it's fast. Are we ready? One more minute. Really? Take a picture of yourself there?
Man, I'm the whole party.
Party fact. Next week is Teacher Appreciation Week. Okay, question. This one's next. Social learning theory. Okay, first off, who are we talking about? What psychologist? Bandura. All right. Correct answer, clearly, is A. But let's look at through each of these. Fixed interval, variable interval, fixed ratio. These are all schedules of reinforcement. Reinforcement means it's operant conditioning. So B is talking specifically about operant conditioning. Because those are schedules of reinforcement. It's missing one though. Generalization, spontaneous recovery, and discrimination. That is talking about classical and operant conditioning because you can use those terms for either of those. Same thing about letter D. Except for I guess you could do counter conditioning for classical. But yeah, acquisition, extinction, and counter conditioning. What's counter conditioning?
It's like the thing where you
Wait, what? Aversion therapy, yes. So like I bite my nails. I don't because that's disgusting. But I bite my nails. And so like, yeah. Sorry, I don't. I already have enough germs, clearly. I don't need to add more into my body. But I'm going to put like nasty, like tasting paint or whatever. So that way I have like a negative connotation and a negative feeling towards biting my nails. That's counter conditioning, also known as aversive therapy. Higher level learning, it literally says reinforcement. Okay, do we know what higher order learning is?
Just like complex.
Okay, no. So higher order learning is a step away from classical conditioning. So here's meat powder. This is meat. This is meat. It's meat, okay? It's a bone. Here, I'll do a bone. Bone, meat. Here's a bell. Bell. Okay, clearly a bell. So, you salivate to the meat. You salivate to the meat, natural. Then you salivate to a bell. Okay, but what if, like, you're salivating to the bell, and then I add, what can I add? Like a picture of a person. This is a person. And I show them a picture. Okay. So that, and then because you've associated the picture of the person with a bell, which you've associated with a meat powder, it's like one level away from the actual meat powder. That is higher order learning. It's just taking it one level. That's why it's called higher order, because it's taking one level away from the meat powder. So now you're like so far away from the meat powder, you're still salivating. So salivate to meat, salivate to bell, salivate to picture of person, which all comes back to the meat. Okay. Which of the following best reflects contemporary interpretations of classical conditioning? This is not asking you, do you know the contemporary interpretations of classical conditioning? Whatever the question is asking is not what the question's about. It's just saying, do you know classical conditioning? That's literally what it is. Because Thorndike was law of effect, and he was talking about reinforcements and punishment. He's operant conditioning. So Thorndike, that's operant. It does not even matter what they like. That's relatively unchanged from the whether that's important or like true or not. It's not true because it says Thorndike. Same thing with Skinner. Skinner is also an operant conditioning psychologist. So like the idea, like whatever the rest of the sentence says, no, V.F. Skinner is not classical. Okay. What can we just also eliminate because this is a really bad answer choice?
long-term instruction.
Yeah, like what is that's not even relevant. Not even relevant. All right. What do we have based on what's left? What do you think? What's the correct answer? C is the correct answer. It does not take cognitive processes like expectancy. If we are smart enough, maybe not dogs, but we are smart enough to not salivate maybe to a bell. Because we're like, I see what you're clearly doing. I see that you are ringing a bell every time that I'm not stupid. And so like we can maybe expect the bell to happen and we haven't really tied it to the idea of meat. And so it just doesn't take like our cognitive process into account. I have no idea what the theory of contiguity, contiguity, contiguity.
That sounds like continuity.
It's,
No. Continue.
are you British? No. Okay. 4-year-old Scott fell down the stairs at his grandmother's house. Stupid Scott. Although he was not badly hurt, he was very frightened. Now, whenever his parents mention visiting grandma's house, he feels anxious and fearful. In classical conditioning, what are the conditioned stimulus and the unconditioned stimulus in the scenario, respectively? First off, what does the word respectively mean? Has to go in that order. Has to be CS first and UCS second. But because we're good little psychology students, we're going to do the whole bit. We're going to do UCS, UCR, CS, and then CR. We're going to do this whole bit off to the side, and then we're just going to pluck our answers that we need. Okay, what is the natural thing that happened to Scott that had a natural response? Falling. What is the natural response to falling? Fear. Fear of falling. That is, in fact, like a thing that we're born with. Like all babies are afraid of falling and loud noises. Thank you, little Albert. Okay, but what has he conditioned? What is little Scott conditioned to falling? Grandma's house. And now what's the response to grandma's house? Fear. It's like a little, okay, so now we're just doing CS and UCS, respectively. So if our first answer has to be grandmother's house, so that gets rid of doot and doot and doot. And the second has to be UCS, which is falling, which is B. B as in boy. The answer is so much easier if you do it this way, and then just pluck your answers that you need.
Do you know what continuity means?
Can I guess?
Yeah, it's a psychology term.
Never heard of that. Was it?
Not the quiz, but the quiz.
No.
Okay, here's my guess. That development is a continuous thing and does not happen in stages.
Well, kind of. It just says the sequential occurrence or proximity of stimulus and response causing their association in the mind.
I would have gotten that wrong.
But that doesn't make sense because that's okay.
It's not.
But this definition was just like, if I knew the definition, I would have fixed that.
Good thing you didn't know it. See? Me not teaching you helps you learn. Okay. Turn to that back page. Okay. So it says, it briefly explain how the concept could be used to help a child share a toy with their siblings. So we're going to talk about it and only write the correct answer. So instead of let's write a whole FRQ and then you do it all wrong. We're just going to talk about it and then write down the first bits. So let's just look at letter A. Let me meet you there. Hold on. Let me scroll. La, 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 la. Okay. Briefly explain how the concepts below could be used to help a child share a toy with their siblings. Please, for the love of God, respond to the prompt. I can't tell you how many times people defined and gave examples, and they use let's talk about Pavlov. Oh my God, that's not the question. The question is, how can you use these terms and the knowledge of these ideas to help a child share a toy with their siblings? If you don't mention how it helps a child sharing a toy, it doesn't matter if you know the textbook definition of all of these words. You're not answering the question. So, talk to each other about just letter A, extinction with operant conditioning. I wonder.
When we're writing the effort
Okay. Put A, but obviously the word extinction needs to be in your thing. Nope. Nope. It has to be in full sentences. It has to be in full sentences. You can't just say like extinction colon.
But if I say
Do you want to get pass a grade? Okay, so you have to like you can do A, so you can bullet point that way, but you have to say extinction in terms of operant conditioning can be used to help a child share a toy with their siblings. Do you want to get a score? Like, do you want to get a good grade?
Can I say like
Do you really want to?
is used
Do you really want to risk it?
No.
No.
That's how much writing. I just
It is, but you have 50 minutes for 2 FRQs. That's 25 minutes each. 25 minutes is a pretty long time for each FRQ. But they don't give you like 25 minutes. Okay, now move on to the next FRQ. No. They give you 50 full minutes, and you have to not wear a smartwatch, wear a regular watch, or be in view of the clock, and then time yourself. Yeah. If you can't see a clock, you do not start the test unless you can see a clock. Because they required by testing by College Board that you have to have the ability to see a clock and see the time. And if they're like, oh, it's too far, oh well, sorry, that's the only one we have. No, you get Miss Chris in there and you say, we need 15,000 clocks. Yeah, you have that ability to like be your own advocate, like say something.
we have to have a clock we can't not be listening. Oh yeah, they like Miss told us about that last year.
Yes.
She's like, you be that one kid, raise your hand.
Yes, and they don't have too many like bad people anymore. Hold on, I'm trying to find a thing.
Are people watching this, hearing this?
No one's watching this. I've got like one view, and I'm pretty sure it's me. You don't have to watch it if you're here.
I know, just to get your views up
Oh, thanks.
and go viral.
Okay, I don't want to have to like write because I've already written this FRQ, so I was just gonna scroll. Load. But years and years ago, we had this was the AP Psych test. The person doing the test took a phone call in the middle of the test, like a personal phone call on their cell phone, was chatting away, and then was whittling.
What is that?
Like with a stick and a knife, whittling, like you do when you're camping. That's what she was doing. She was whittling like a stick with a knife.
How would you use a knife and a stick? She just have one
The whole test.
in person?
Nobody said anything?
No, because there was like maybe 10 kids in the room, and no one conformity. No one wanted to say anything. The people that complain, no. No.
I would have picked
Just the right here. Okay, that's as far as it goes. All right. Don't look at this. All right, extinction. You do not have to write exactly what I wrote, but it needs to be something similar because operant conditioning is about like reinforcements and punishment. So you have to say something. Like you have to like give a nod to that. So what I put is when a child complains about having to share and you don't respond to the behavior, eventually the behavior will be extinct since it's not being reinforced.
I would not have gotten that. I would have not.
You don't have to write exactly that. You could have said, okay,
Wait,
because there's like 1,000 different ways.
can you like
You
a
can say
scenario?
extinction. What?
Can you like a scenario?
Yes, you can give a scenario. You could say. Of course, now I can only think of my example. What did y'all toss around? Give me some ideas that y'all had around.
We couldn't think of it.
You couldn't think of anything.
So wait, you said like
Extinction means behavior goes away.
when the child complains about what?
When the child complains about having to share, you don't respond to the behavior. Eventually, the behavior of complaining will be extinct since it's not being reinforced.
I didn't think about complaining.
Yeah.
Because it's involuntary.
No, it's voluntary.
Isn't it one of them voluntary?
Operant conditioning is voluntary. Classical conditioning, Salamanca Bell is involuntary.
How does that help the child share the toy? Oh, because they're complaining about sharing.
They're complaining about sharing, and now you don't get to complain about sharing. Okay. What about positive reinforcement? Talk to each other. This one should be easy. Positive reinforcement. How can you use positive reinforcement to get your kid to share?
If you share for the whole day, yes. My child will not be happy.
Okay.
All right.
Screaming
Yep.
at dinner.
I will. I've actually
Sure.
no. I've conditioned my nieces every time that they're in the country, they don't touch an iPad.
In the country.
Wow.
Correct.
So you're not with them all the time.
Correct, but when they are
It's really
here for
easy to be a
month-
parent when
for
for
a month. Yeah.
yeah, try 18 years.
Well, I can't. I'm 17.
I just love a parent. Give me more parenting advice, please. Okay.
I wasn't talking to you.
I know. I just love it. I just love it. Okay. Here we go. Here's my example. Every time the kid shares, you give them a cookie to positively reinforce the sharing. They will now share more often because it's reinforcement, and reinforcement increases the behavior.
So you have to like explain that. You have to explain the last part. That's like because it's reinforcement and they'll do
I
it.
don't want, like, if you can write it,
Okay.
why wouldn't you?
I mean,
Like, the whole, like, good enough,
yeah.
that sounds like a 3 to me.
So you can just like give them a cookie.
Why would that work?
Give them a cookie to positively reinforce. Like,
How does that work? Oh, reinforcement increases the behavior, and you're trying to increase sharing. I got it. I get it. Yeah. More. Give me more.
It's just like.
I mean, think about how much you guys wrote in WAP. I'm asking you to write a fraction of that.
And I'm just
Yeah.
Should we be writing it right now?
I have apes before.
Well, it's here.
Oh, apes is before this.
Apes
I thought it was
is right
after.
No.
This is a noon test.
Apes is.
Okay.
You don't break too. You
No.
have like
No.
No, you
Modeling.
you don't
We're
raise-
doing modeling. Talk about modeling.
you model, you share. You're like,
Share.
Do you go out of the room or is it just like back to back?
Yeah, it's
okay,
leave the
so
room and you
for
have to read
modeling,
it.
I would say as a parent,
It might not even be in the same room.
I remember like last year there was kids who like if you have another test just stay here.
Okay. I think it just depends on whoever the proctor.
I want to.
Dr. Burns is a really good proctor. It used to be
The girl?
like the person who gave you the speech in the auditorium.
Well, that's a really
Yeah.
What's the
She said doctor. What?
The doctor.
Okay. Modeling. Modeling is like social learning. I wrote, the parents need to model sharing in front of the child so they can learn by observing others. It feels like it's being redundant, but that's the point. You are trying to show them, look how much I know, AP readers.
Yeah, do you get like, can you write outside of the lines?
Oh, okay. So like the day of the test, you're given like 5 sheets of paper.
Okay, but
Yeah, like don't feel like you need. I'm not going to give you that much like room, but but yeah, you guys have lots of paper. But there's also like a practice paper and like an actual writing the answer paper. Make sure. God, this happened. Make sure that you don't write the entire FRQ on the practice paper.
Is a
What part? So like there is. Okay, I've never actually been able to see the AP test, but I've heard the format is like this. There's a question, and then there's like a page right behind the question, and it even says like practice paper.
practice.
Like,
I feel like we've had that before.
Just
No?
like brain dump.
yeah, just to throw stuff on the page, words, whatever.
I feel like
Throw
we've
that
had
on the actual question page, and then there's like answer 1 here, answer 2 here.
So they won't grade it if you write down the practice.
Correct.
That's actually.
Whatever you don't put on the answer paper, because they like rip it, and then like send the answers. I think.
How much time do you get for that?
50 minutes, 50. 25 each, because there's 2. This is an example of the second one. The first one is always research methods. It's always like independent variable, dependent variable, compounding variable. The other one is just like random, and you never know what you're gonna get. Okay. Let's do negative reinforcement. Be careful with this one. Talk about negative reinforcement with a friend. No, no,
Punishment.
wrong. That's punishment.
Wait, I wrote that down.
You take
Stop
away,
bugging
you take away their toys.
He said stop bugging.
I knew it's like negative reinforcement. Oh, we found the text.
And writing it, I
Stop
was like,
bugging them,
oh.
and then they share the toy.
Wait, can,
It's like
has there ever
because
been,
they share the toy, you stop bugging them.
can you, is there ever been an FRQ that you know of, like, over, like, the brain or, like, the inner parts of the ear, like, something like, that's, like,
Yeah, but not not the entire thing over the brain.
okay.
Yeah.
Parts
of it.
So you said one is for always over like experiments and
Yes,
stuff like that,
yes.
and then one is
Yeah.
always
It's a
over.
random grab bag. It could be anything.
Is it usually over a specific unit, or is it over
No.
like?
Like this one is specifically to study the learning unit. Like I pulled this one from like a resource site, but like the day of, it's like, you know,
3 or 4 units?
it's just like gives you a scenario of Jacob is buying a house and he lives next door to a blah and he drives this car and he is this profession. You know, why is this relevant? It's relevant because they're giving you all of these opportunities to write about any of these things. And then it's like, how does the following affect Jacob? And it's like negative reinforcement, cones versus rods, the amygdala, schizophrenia, and it's just like it's all over the place.
Is this a most recent FRQ?
No, that's an FRQ.
Oh, okay.
Where it's just like it's
You can
all
just,
over
like,
the
throw
place.
it.
And you have to write it over all of them? Or?
You have to apply that every single bullet point to that prompt. You don't get to choose. Okay, let's talk about negative reinforcement. I got a little silly with this one. The parents can hit the child until they share. The parents will stop hitting until they share, so they will be more likely to share. Or I will stop bugging you to share whenever you do share. Like I will remove something unpleasant away. I will not gonna punish you. I'm not gonna take away your privileges. I'm not gonna take away your iPad. No, that's punishment. I'm taking away something that you want me to take away so that you are going to share more often. Hey, you know what? I'm gonna do your chores for you. If you share with your sibling, I will clean your bathroom for you and you don't have to clean it yourself. That's negative reinforcement. I'm taking away something that you don't want to do in the likelihood that it'll get you to share more often, not less often. Make sense?
Is it?
Emily? Okay. What about shaping? Talk about shaping with a friend. What is shaping? Talk about.
I'm confusing this with like.
Do you remember the pigeon that was kind of like walking around? And it's like every time I got close to like walking in,
Yeah.
it got a reward, and then I had to walk further,
So it's
to
like
get a reward, and then all of a sudden it's got to walk all the way around, and then get a reward. From now on, you have to go all the way around. No, chaining is like I got to do this trick, and then this trick, and then this trick, and then I get a reward.
So shaping is like just doing one thing.
Molding. Yeah.
Changing is multiple things.
Yeah. Okay, so here's what I put for shaping. I went a little bit long. Oh, calm down. It's like 5 lines. Okay. The parents need to begin training the child by giving a reward every time they get close to the behavior of sharing. I didn't even give an example. I was just like, get close to the behavior of sharing until they do the desired behavior. And then only reward the child when that behavior is done as wanted.
Could you say something about like fixed intervals and it's like if you share for like 10 minutes and you don't have to share anymore and then you like slowly like increase the time until they like keep doing it.
That's fine. Yeah, that's not bad. But then you.
Or would you say like could you say something about like I'm thinking of like vocab. So could you say something like a token economy and it's like the more you share, like he's gonna share more and no, but that's not shaping that.
Yeah, that's not shaping.
Could it be like,
Okay, well that one but the other one, or would you just do
Like, I will give you a reward for 5 minutes of sharing and then now 10 minutes of sharing,
Yeah.
and then 30 minutes of sharing, and then finally you only get a reward if you've been sharing for the whole day. That's fine. Yeah. All right. Last one of this part. Extinction, talking about classical conditioning. You can't be using extinction with operant conditioning, specifically classical. Discuss.
You slowly start away. Yeah, but stopping you.
That would be really hard at FRQ.
Oh wait, no, but
How do you?
This was not bad.
Thorn dice? Like what?
Oh, the second part?
The second FRQ is bad.
That's all one FRQ.
Oh, what?
This is all one.
Okay, well the second part of the FRQ is bad.
Okay.
The first part
If
is
you're gonna use something or something for shaping, to be like,
This gift costs 2 tokens,
extinction is the.
but your nice gift costs 10.
Oh, that's a good one. No, that is a
That
good
would
one.
work.
Yeah, that would work. Because you're getting closer and closer to the behavior that you want. Okay. Extinction. Classical conditioning. Remember, this is me ringing a bell over and over and over again, never presenting any food, and eventually you stop salivating to the food. We just have to apply that to sharing. I wrote this last year. I have no idea what I wrote. Okay, so okay, give the child a shock every time they complain about sharing. They will stop complaining about sharing. If the shocks don't continue, the complaining about sharing might return. It's kind of is that punishment? But like, okay, so I would have to expand on this to make it more classical.
So like,
Hold on, I will do it. Give the child a shock every time they complain about sharing, so they associate not sharing with pain. But if the shocks don't continue, eventually they will no longer associate not sharing with pain.
You have to say. Oh, never mind.
Okay.
So wait, you stop the shocks and
Yeah.
then they will start sharing?
No, they will stop being afraid of not sharing because not sharing meant pain in the past. Now you stop shocking, you stop giving them pain, and so eventually they're like, oh, well, I guess sharing isn't painful anymore because the shocks will stop.
Because not sharing is what's painful before, so that they were definitely sharing, but then you don't shock them anymore, so they're like, they start not sharing.
Yeah. So it
I didn't follow that.
I agree. I agree.
Could you think of one that's more like
realistic.
More
or like something that we would think of?
Like I say, for
What do you mean?
example, you only acknowledge kids who
Yeah,
share.
I would.
No, but it's got to be classical. So it's got to be something involuntary. It's got to be something that like you associate this with that. Okay. Okay. I got it. I got it. Okay.
I thought you got it. No.
It feels so much like.
So I need David here.
No, I don't.
I'll tell David to come the next session.
Saturday. Okay. Oh, I just spit everywhere. I did. I spit everywhere.
That's so office.
That was just you're like.
Whoops. Okay. The fourth bowl. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay.
Oh.
Okay. So. Okay. This could work. It's the same thing as this, but I actually So my son, when he was born, and he's like started crawling around, we didn't like baby proof everything right away because they go from like not crawling to crawling like that, and you're like, oh crap, and then you didn't think ahead to baby proof everything. So he had like all these open plugs in his room, but he had this like toy that like this like rocking horse, but it was an elephant and not a horse, and like it had a button in the ear. And the button was like, it's supposed to make like an elephant noise, but it was like, ah, like it was bad. And so it scared him to death. And so he was like crawling around and like it was like going for like the plug, and I pressed the button to scare him, and it like he like okay. Every time they don't share, you scare them. I don't know. You toss hot water on them. Oh, you spray them with a spray bottle. and then
I like
yeah.
So
Just you need to make sure that you it's like, oh, and then they associate this with that. Because otherwise it just sounds like punishment, which is operant conditioning. So you need to say, then it stops because you have to extinct the behavior. So you lost the water bottle, you can't find it. So no longer are you spraying them in the face every time they don't share. So now they're gonna go back to not sharing because they were flinching every time that they didn't share. But since they don't have the water bottle anymore, they were like, well, I'm not sharing. Yeah. That's the answer.
Wait.
Maybe we should get that point wrong. Hey.
Oh, I'm a little confused why you have to say that it might return. Like I understand yes it might return because they're not doing reinforcement anymore, but that kind of doesn't help the child because it still behavior.
No, I'm just saying that you have to continue the shocks.
Oh.
Otherwise,
Pass through.
Oh, I thought you were saying okay. I
Yeah.
kinda get that. I just
like it's all right. I am scrolling back to the top of this thing. I don't think I wrote anything about the. Yeah, I just wrote off to the side. Researchers investigating conditioning through the history of psychology reached very different conclusions about how humans learn behavior. Explain how each of these theorists might explain this behavior and response. A child cries when they see a large pile of peas on a dinner plate. Okay, I did not answer this question anywhere. Go me. But I did write off to the side. This is still the same FRQ. This is just 2 parts. Okay,
Wait,
So- this is all one FRQ.
so then on the AP test there would be another, could be another 2-part, or is this 2 FRQ?
This is one FRQ. It might not be like A, B, C, D, E, F, A, B, C, D, but it could be like A, B, C, A, B, C.
Okay, that's more true.
Okay, so Thorndike did law of effect, B.F. Skinner, operant conditioning, Pavlov, classical conditioning, Bandura, observational learning. So going back to child cries when they see a dinner, whatever. Law of effect, Thorndike. Some sort of consequences in the past. He was punished for not eating his peas in the past. So now he's afraid he's going to get punished again because of the peas. Like, oh no, consequences of my actions in the past are affecting my future. Like, you could say lots of different answers here. Doesn't have to be exactly what I'm saying. Like the rubric, by the way, the rubric on just like a part of this, like 2A, the rubric for that answer is probably 2 pages long. Of all the things that can be marked correct and all the things that can't be marked correct.
are there other examples oh, we have this on the rubric?
Well, the rubric is actually released after the AP test. And so I think they make it as like, okay, we saw all of these things and we decided to count them right. So they make the rubric based off of like what they saw.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, they have an idea of what to look for going in, but they might make exceptions if someone like argued a certain way. All right. Skinner, operant conditioning.
Oh, I have a question.
Yeah.
For law of effect, could you say that he ate peas and he threw up?
Yeah, that's a good one.
I really
Yeah, so now he's afraid to eat them. Yeah, and he cries, oh, I don't want to throw up. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, well, you're in here, sorry, by behavior.
Focus. Okay, Skinner, operant conditioning. Once again, reinforcement and punishment. A child cries when they see a large pile of peas on the dinner plate. The parent, because you don't have to like, okay, you have to explain this behavior and a response. Okay, the behavior of crying has been reinforced in the past. Hey, what are you looking for?
Oh my goodness.
Go ahead. It's
I
not
didn't know
pointing
it's
to you.
gonna be on the camera.
Oh yeah, you are. There you are. Okay.
I can't even see you.
You're like right there.
I went the wrong way.
Oops.
It's like chirpy.
Okay. Skinner, He must have been reinforced in the past. Every time he cried, his parents removed the P's. And so, once again, he's crying, so they'll remove his P's. He's been reinforced.
So you just have to
Or he was
wait it.
punished for not eating the P's. You can go either way.
Can you explain what Skinner's box was?
This was like, it's like a little metal box that they put a rat or pigeon or whatever, and you press a lever, like a little food pellet came out.
Oh, I thought this was like the one. No, that's true.
It's dead and alive at the same time. No. And then you press the button and electrify the floor. Obviously, they didn't press the button anymore,
Oh,
and they like press the lever.
If you feel like he was punished in the past for not eating them, wouldn't that be law of effect? Because it's like, oh, like in the
Law of
past-
effect led into operant conditioning.
Whoa.
Like Skinner came after Thorndike. Thorndike was like, "What if consequences matter?" And he's like, "They do. They're called reinforcements and punishments. They go together. They're both operant conditioning." Like, how would you distinguish the two? Because you would use the term law of effect with Thorndike. Okay, classical conditioning. Pavlov.
Oh, you
Classical-
could say like a child saw like a guy die and there was a bunch of peas.
Yes, he just saw a horrific car accident, which a pea truck smashed into a bus of kids, and peas went everywhere, and it was mixed with the blood and the guts of all the kids.
Okay.
And so, then he's terrified that this is the peas returning.
He actually said that you would get
What
points.
are
Yes, like you can be as like ridiculous as
Can
possible.
you like? Isn't there like what's that for?
Classical.
You know how like if you say like certain things in therapy, or like if you, I feel like even if you write something in English like here or like at like in school, like they're like, oh, we have to send you to a counselor, we have to like notify someone. If you like write something like actually like gruesome.
No, as long as you are using the correct as long as you're applying the prompt. Yeah.
I want to do this.
Right. If you're like, this is my plan to like kill everybody,
Yeah.
then
Using
probably
terms.
a problem.
Well, yeah. What if you use the terms? They're like, oh, 5.
Yeah.
Okay, that's
Okay, and last one, Bandura, social learning. He has a parent who he has seen throw a fit at eating vegetables in the past, and now he's eating vegetables. So he's learned by watching others to throw a fit for peas.
Sounds good.
For peas.
The 4. Oh, it's the 4 F's.
4 F's.
Fortitude.
You almost just
Fornication. Same thing.
Fornication, same thing. No. Okay,
Wait, I'll walk.
the last multiple choices.
There's like 20 minutes.
Everybody was coming.
That was my APU's history project.
It's operant conditioning.
This been stuck in my head for 2 days.
Yeah.
That's a
The
you
British
problem.
are coming.
You know, they don't have anything like that for eco or psychology. It's really upsetting.
I should.
It is. It's fine.
Yeah, I think we're good.
Everybody was operant conditioning. No?
That's good.
All right. 29 through 32 are based on the following prompt. So let's do this whole left-hand side page because they're all with the same prompt.
I rocked it.
Go.
I'm just gonna stand out here for a second. Oh, I can answer the question.
Okay, Carl. Sugar popcorn. I'm so glad you never made us popcorn. I mean, do we even have
Actually,
popcorn?
would wake me up.
No.
Popcorn reading?
I hate
Oh,
No,
popcorn.
like
reading,
popcorn
popcorn
answering.
question.
Yeah.
Like,
Yes.
yeah.
That's what I meant.
Like, you
Like not like raise hand, but like.
Okay.
'cause
No, please. Laura.
I still have yet to guess. Corbin called on.
I actually have
You're
6
in my
students.
peripheral. People in my peripheral.
You call on Paige all the time.
Oh.
I rarely
You call.
on page.
You call on Cole.
I don't know.
Gotcha there.
I don't think so.
What? Yes.
I have
Well,
6
I have an example in my head.
You never call him.
Yeah.
Fine.
I don't think you know how to say my name.
Oh.
That's still my theory. That's still
Oh,
my
100%.
Yeah.
Eliza, it
Yeah.
could be either of them.
Yeah, they're
At this
both.
point, it's too late to know.
I say Eliza.
Well,
Just because
like,
it's
you
my
see people get
American.
Yeah, I know.
I could,
Except,
I say your name in my
that's because
picture.
you're
I was
constantly
really thank you
talking
so
to
much.
me. I don't need to call on you. We're already in a conversation. Okay. Are we done with the left-hand side of the page?
Wait, I haven't even started.
And you call Allie a lot, I think. when you ask questions,
Wait,
like
who-
if we're going
who
over
do you
the
call
test,
on
you
her
always
class?
call on Allie at least once.
She doesn't call anyone in that class. You
Who?
say Mason or Emily.
Oh yeah, you call them the Emily's.
Yeah,
You're like this one.
It's the easiest name to say.
there's two of you.
One of them will hopefully answer correctly.
Yeah.
I like when Mason knocks on the door. I have 2 minutes to lesson.
Every day.
It's like awkward. You should just leave the door propped.
Oh,
Cause like,
It's gonna change
yeah,
next
you
year.
had
You
to
better
do
go
it
to class.
today. I don't know why you needed to.
Yeah, he like got in class, got comfy, unpacked. Then all of a sudden his bladder was going to explode.
This is a new student that like sits there. Is he taking the AP? She's put in here. Yeah. He does nothing.
So like,
What is he?
and we're back.
We only did one question.
Hi guys, welcome
I
back.
wasn't.
No, we
just
can
go
over it. We can go
go.
over it.
So we're doing it together?
Yes.
Let's do it together. Great idea, me. Carl goes to see Dr. Norton. Maybe that's Isabella's dad or mom. Okay, Carl sees Dr. Norton to help him overcome his fear of cats. Carl's fear began in childhood when he petted a cat, sure, and someone slammed the door. What a stupid way to get a phobia. Which is the correct answer on number 1, phobia. Yeah, specific phobia. Every time Carl petted a cat, the door slammed. Now, whenever Carl sees a cat, he becomes very anxious. The first one, yes, is a specific phobia to cats. Any questions about what the rest of the answers are? We know what the rest of the answers are?
Conversion disorder?
Conversion disorder, like you have a physical symptom to something psychological happening.
Oh, that's good.
Somatic disorder is all the same thing.
Yeah.
Okay. 30. In the development of Carl's fear of cats, what was the unconditioned stimulus? First, I'm going to write the whole thing because that's what we do. UCS, UCR, CS.
What if it just asks, like how it is right now? Like it just asks for one. Is that like a time?
Like,
Seems a little.
Because this is multiple choice and we 70 minutes, 100.
I get it.
But is that just like a thing, a rule of thumb for everyone? You're like,
I can't do things in my head. Like if there's a math problem, and you'll see this in English next year, I will work out every step. Because I'm like, oh, some people are like, well, just do
yeah, you hated
No.
on L for getting
Like-
the calculator.
Yes. So I was just like, okay, I'm just gonna do the whole thing because
Okay.
just cause. You do you. If you're confident enough to like see it, you do you. Okay, so unconditioned stimulus. The door slamming startled him and that made him scared. He was scared to the door slam, but he's associated cats. And now he's scared of cats. Okay, so the UCS is the unconditioned stimulus. It's the thing that made him scared in the first place, a natural thing. So it should be the slamming of the door. The slamming of the door. Okay, Dr. Norton puts a cat in a room with Carl and prevents Carl from avoiding or escaping the cat until Carl's anxiety naturally dissipates. This treatment is called what? Flooding. If they did it slowly over time, then it would be systematic desensitization. But the fact is, you are avoiding, you can't escape. Yeah.
Is that like ethical though?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just funny.
Just if he's low on funds or time or his his what's it called? Your insurance doesn't cover like things like
You don't
that.
have time for.
Yeah. Like I think teacher insurance doesn't cover mental health. That's what summer's for. And so like I would be like in and out. Get rid of my fear right now. Okay, Carl may have been reluctant to try therapy to change his fear because he believes his efforts to change are ineffective. He can't do it. He just can't change. This would indicate that Carl has low what? Yes. Okay, yay. Okay, I was really hoping that y'all were going to get that right. I was a word because self-efficacy is a term pops up all the time on the AP test, and people always get it wrong. They confuse it with self-esteem. Self-esteem is like, I am worthy. Self-efficacy is, I can do it. I can do the thing. I can do the task. Like, I can write 2 FRQs in 15 minutes. Yeah, I can. Self-efficacy. And I'm more than what my AP score is. Yes, that would be self-esteem. It's just a number. And a silly number at that. Okay, let's just continue. Let's just do the whole thing. Let's just go together. Let's just do this. Sheila has a favorite book that she enjoys so much, she's read it several times. This book is now assigned in her literature class, and students receive gift certificates for each chapter they've read. Cool. As the class progresses through the book, Sheila, oh no, she enjoys it less. No, what is this called? Do you remember?
Habituation.
No.
Oh, no. Anchoring and resistance.
No.
Over-justification.
Cognitive self.
That's what I said.
Okay. Over justification is if you reward something for something that's already rewarding, you actually do it less often. So if,
Oh. I see it.
hey, what do you call it if you find something a rewarding already?
Self-fulfilling.
No, starts with an I. Not extrinsic.
Internal reward.
Intrinsic. You're intrinsically motivated. So if you get rewarded for something intrinsically motivating, you do it less often. Remember how we talked about they paid kids for attendance?
Yeah.
And then attendance rates actually fell. That's because school in itself is
I mean, you could probably
rewarding.
make more money at working at McDonald's that day.
Okay,
How much do they think?
I think it was like decent. I think it was like $100 a day. And there's no way you're making $100 a day at I barely make $100 a day. All right. My 4-year-old child, oh God, frequently pulled on the dog's tail to gain attention. To reduce this undesirable behavior, the parent took away 1 hour of television viewing for every time the child pulled the dog's tail. Within 1 week, the desired behavior significantly reduced. It reduced. The behavior went down. Behavior went down. So what does it have to be? Just the second word. Has to be punishment. If the behavior increases, it's reinforcement. If the behavior decreases, it's punishment. The question is, what type of punishment is it? Are they taking something away or are they adding something? They're taking something away. They're taking away television. I'm removing something pleasant to get you to stop doing that. And so it's negative punishment. Positive punishment would be a slap on the behind. A little spank.
Well,
Okay, Emily, reinforcement, punishment, you got to get your head around it. That's your weakness.
that was because I saw takeaway, so I was like.
That's not those.
Or negative. I saw takeaway, so I was like negative.
Oh,
And I was like,
and you didn't look at the second part.
I didn't read the rest of the question.
Silly goose. Okay, in order to get audience participation, a radio show offers a prize to the first person to call the show at the beginning of every hour. Yes.
5 minutes time.
Fixed interval. Yes. Okay. Continuous reinforcement means every single time. Every single behavior. There's no schedule of reinforcement. It's just all the time. Fixed ratio, a fixed amount of behaviors. Fixed interval, fixed amount of time. Variable ratio, variable interval, just random amount of time or behaviors. Okay, kids. It's a good day. The next one is Thursday. Thursday, we cover biological basic behavior, sensation, perception, and development. Because why the heck not?
So it's gonna be long.
Wait, we're doing 3 units on Thursday?
2.
I messed up this. Today was supposed to be learning and development, but it's just my questions for only learning. So we'll do super speed.
Are we gonna still go till 4? Or are we gonna go?
Maybe before 30.
That's what you
No, I'm
said.
fine with going further. I'd rather
Yeah.
get like good studying than not.
Well,